In a post-emancipated world, Jamaicans were preparing for independence and the pride of being a free nation. The year was 1957.
Well, friends, nowadays, only two things you can hear. Is how the money steers, and the things so awful dear. No clothes to wear, no food to eat, and no beer to believe.
In 1957, I would say we were all very happy, lucky people. We never have any crime. We could walk the streets late at night. I mean, even coming from these events from the church, we would walk like through Oxford Street and come up to Stella Park or to enter into Jonestown, and we had no fear. There was no fear in going around, and everybody knew everybody, and you know, we were all jolly and good.
I was told by my mother, and what I can glean from as a little boy, Kendal was a family district. It's about 1 mile in radius, and that's just Kendal.
I am Winston Palmer, CEO at the Manchester Municipal Corporation. I was born and bred right here in Manchester, not far away from Kendal.
Neighbors were neighbors because, you know, not like today, we never had fences, every yard had shortcut. Most people swapped dinner. If you cook pork and somebody cooked beef, then you would probably share in that, you know.
My best friend Amy Kong, she lived on Slipen Road, which was a little out to coming into Jonestown. You know, on a Friday night. We never go out on Saturday night. We go out on a Friday night, and then occasionally we would go out on a Saturday night because we have to go to mass on Sunday morning.
There was a little fly, doing no Annie, on the ceiling Annie, on the floor Annie, on the bacon Annie, on the ham Annie, on the head of a little grocer man, took out his gambling gun, he said I'll kill the fly before the day is done, but before he was count.
In 1845, the Jamaica Railways, which later became the Jamaica Railway Corporation, contributed significantly to the realization of freedom of movement of the people.
I'm in Kendal. I drive a JRC for over 30 years. I operate almost every train Kingston, Montego Bay, Port and Tuna, from Jamalco, Kirkban Works, Yoaton Works, draw alumina, market people from Port and Tuna, passengers from Montego Bay, from field too. The experience as a locomotive driver over the years, very good.
People who have relatives in country would shop for them, get especially like household items, basin, pails, and then would ship it to country, and you would go down, the porter at the railway station would know you by name, and you never had ID like that. But the railway was the place to actually take your transportation of choice, because you were going through forests, you were going through meadows, you were going through little towns, you were seeing different people, you were seeing ponds. The environment was so beautiful and picturesque, seen from the train.
The Balaclava rail accident of 1938 was 19 years past, and on this day, September 1st, 1957, railway travel was a common commute for families, farmers, and an exciting group of Catholic members who were about to embark on an exciting excursion.
My first paycheck, I bought 2 tickets for my sister and myself, who was still at Alpha, and she's now a doctor. And to go on this big excursion. That's what it was called. So I remember the Saturday night we cook our rice and peas and chicken. That was the thing to go on excursions. It was my first or our first thing going on a train and our first trip out of Kingston. We never know any other place. So this was a big thing for us to go to Montego Bay. When we reached the railway station, we were surprised because it was like very overcrowded, and we expected that it was just the church, that would be the church group that would be. So we almost did not get on the train because apparently they went and sold the tickets all over in the West and all over.
After a fun-filled day of fellowship, members of the Roman Catholic Holy Name Society, along with other commuters, boarded the train in Montego Bay en route to Kingston.
When we came back now, the coach was all crowded, and my sister, she was upset because she didn't even know where I was. So she and her good friends went and they got back their seats on the fifth coach, and there was no seat for Amy. And Amy had a sister too, Pam. And we were walking around and looking and couldn't find any seats. So in this little section that we saw where they had like beer boxes and things packed up in it, we decided that we are going to take that section because there was no other place for us to get a seat. Both priests that were in charge, that's Father Evel and Father Maverick, that was going to too because they didn't have any seats either. So we packed up the beer boxes and we made sure that Father Evelyn and Father Malik got a seat, and we actually, tried to make some space, but we wanted to know that they were safe as well. I think it's probably about 25 of us that was in that little section.
The double diesel engine locomotive was pulling 12 passenger coaches. The maximum capacity was 80 per coach. The largest payload should have been 960 passengers. But on this night, there was 1,600 souls aboard the train.
I don't know how long it was before or where we reached when we heard a rumbling, and Father's, he was like he was sleeping a little bit, and he said, something is wrong. And then he started to pray. All of a sudden we heard a rumbling. It was really, and then it was jerk. We were jerking. And then it's like we went up on a rock. I don't know what it was that we
Big bang, and everybody in the district woke up. The men, of course, were the ones that actually ventured out first to find out what had happened. So they used to have a signal that they used to call one another with, mostly developed by the women who used to go to the market. And they would hoop like, "Ooh, ooh," and the other would answer, "Ooh, ooh," saying they heard. And so everybody started whooping, and then the men came over and, saw the crash.
I was the one that had some cigarettes and matches because nobody else smoked, but I was experimenting on smoking. I struck the matches and I said, "Amy, come here, look down, look at what is happening down here." Because there was rumbling, you could still hear noises. And I said to myself, I am going to jump. And my sister said, "You're crazy?" And I said, "No, I am getting off here and I'm going to jump through this window." And she was holding on to me and I jumped.
All one body, we are not divided.
We'd form a line now and held hands and said, "We're going to see what's going on here." We start walking under the train. and crying out for our friends and said like, Valmo, to see the Bowmans and no answer. And I remember one of my first experience when I saw a hand. And I started trembling because I said, Amy, something, look at this is somebody's hand.
They started to put on their hot water. Who had thermos, put it in thermos. Who had pail, enamel pail, pour it in enamel pail. Some carried little basins. And I tell you, the medication or the dressing in those days was Dettol. Then they lit their torches, the kerosene torches, and headed for the crash, hurried along the line. And when they came and was in a distance, that morning they could never forget. Now when the torches came, that's when the wail started to increase, because now you started to recognize the faces that he was really dead. And there was not just, big people, there were children strewn all about.
I couldn't go any further. That I was about at the fifth one, and I said, no, I can't go through this anymore, because you could see people's body crushed out. And I still had my matches, but then I said to Amy, I'm out of match now. We gotta go.
Counting every hour down at Negro Street. All one body, we are not divided. One body,
There was this guy that was on the train, I remember, and he walked off Keithport Wonder, and he went to sit. There was a division there, and he went to sit, and Father looked over and says, come inside. And he says, I'm okay. He lost a leg. And then there was another friend that I have, Maggie, and her aunt was sitting at her window and she broke her neck. She died on the train.
I've worked long in the field. I've handled plenty of hoes to plow the cane and hoe the groves and keep the sugar cane growing.
186 souls were lost, over 700 injured. This was the worst rail disaster in Jamaica's history.
Carry me now to the burial ground. Push on, don't you frown.
I lost 4 aunties and 3 uncles-in-law and cousins.
It has been my tradition every year on the 1st of September to honour my family who died at Kendal, 14 of them. I light a candle and call their names.
And hoe the groves and keep the sugar cane growing.
This is what we do in memories of those we have lost.
But the strange thing about it, in the two shakes of hands, we saw people like with bottle lamps, but we don't know those things in Kingston. But the people started coming from off the hill and coming down, and then we saw like the bauxite. Yeah, we saw some big tractors and things coming from where I don't know where they came because we didn't know where we were.
The road that took out the patients to Mandeville Hospital was cleared by Eric Morrison, a pastor at the Shiloh Apostolic Church, Gilbert Lambert, and so on, because that time Alkans Prostans had a ore pit being dug just behind the train crash, and so the equipment were right there already. So they, built a road through there so that it could access the trucks, and many bodies got moved in trucks.
And then Mr. Chin came and brought down some tea for us. And he opened up the door and he had a phone. But we were poor, we didn't have a phone at home. But I knew my in-laws' telephone number and they called. And that was how we stayed there. And then they sent the news up to my mother. And she had a friend at Septimus Street in Jonestown with a car, and she said there was a crash. And of course, I was pronounced dead because nobody couldn't find me. So they thought I had died under the thing, yeah. And Amy Kong too, they thought both of us had died.
Butelin Carvey was 15 years old, injured, unconscious, and considered dead. When she awoke, she found herself amongst those who had perished. After returning home to her family, she became known as the Ghost of Kendal.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Major Jacqueline Palmer, a Salvation Army officer for 26 years. And presently, I'm here assisting at the Hanbury home. I'm now presenting to you Major Richards, retired officer from the Salvation Army who resides in the USA and who have been the administrator for the Hanbury home for 21 years.
Greetings to you all. I count it a pleasure to be able to share the information that I received. When the Kane crash occurred back in 1957, Hanbury home was started in 1956. Children from the crash were among the first set of children that Hanbury home started with.
Yes, this is the control room for the locomotive. This is the automatic brake that controls the train. This is the engine brake that you operate it when the engine alone is working. This is the throttle. And this is the final drive lever. This automatic brake, when you apply, it goes right through and hold the coaches. If a hose should break somewhere along the line, what it do? It dump the air from the reservoir and the entire train setup will break and it must come to a stop.
I was distraught and very saddened at the fact of having lost so many relatives in a tragedy. I didn't have anyone around me from the family, so to speak, so we could sort of cushion each other's grief.
The effect it had on the community was, as I was told, it was devastating. People sympathized. People had nightmares, and also where the remains of the body was, which was buried closer to the community behind the missionary church, was a place where parents told their children not to walk. Some people said they would never take a train again. So, you know, people in Kendal really, it had a devastating effect on some, had a frightening effect. We regretted sometimes that it actually happened in Kendal. And these are some artifacts that I have discovered from the crash site. Well, this is a bottle that I found on the side. I've tried as much as I can to clean it up. I heard it could be an aftershave bottle. As you see, the top, is designed to pour out aftershave. I don't know what it might be. Maybe it's a lime alcohol bottle, I'm not sure. This also is a key. And a key like this would be a front door key, meaning somebody took their whole family on the trip or so, or the inhabitant of that home that morning, locked the whole house and never returned. This now, when you have a floral arrangement on your clothes, this butterfly would be pinned to that corsage, and while you walk, the wings flap. I have not tried to align the wings just in case it breaks, but one of the eyes of the butterfly is missing, and I try to clean this as much as possible. It might have been, or it might be copper or some non-corrosive metal, but I'm not sure what made it. This dancing girl was found in a little tin like a strepsil tin. The tin was all rusted and all, so that may be, that helped to preserve it. The cup, we call it a cup in a cup because it cannot be released. It was fastened in there by some impact, and you can see the crack here, that it's really wedged down in the other one. This is a gravy spoon. Maybe some culinary person would tell you exactly what the spoon is called, but I tried also to clean it up as much as I can, and you probably can recognize the maker from here. In those days when people bought china and silverware and brass, they knew what they wanted.
But a few years ago, this wonderful Kendal Memorial Committee was formed by the Manchester Municipal Corporation, and it seems that there might be a light at the end of the tunnel, a monument and a park in the making.
The Manchester Municipal Corporation has come to realize the importance of this event that took place in 1957 and has come on board to provide the necessary resources to commemorate this event at an annual basis and to provide the necessary resources for both our locals and those in the diaspora.
For the souls lost, they are gone but not forgotten. Their memories lives on in the heart of their families and in the memory of Jamaica. For this journey through Jamaica's history, I am Donovan Esco. Walk good.